Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ben, and I'm here today with Bella, Katie, and Holden. And today we're going to be talking about the book Unwind by Neil Schusterman in our podcast. In the book Unwind, it follows the lives of three main characters, Connor, Lev, and Risa, and they are all going to be unwound in some way. And each of them found out in different ways. Connor found out that his parents were giving him up. Risa's place that she was living at had budget cuts, and so she had to get unwounded, and Lev was supposed to get unwound from birth. And when you are unwound, it means for all the parts of your body to be donated and recycled, and you're still technically living, but your parents can choose to unwind you from the age of 3 to 18, but once you're 18, you cannot be unwounded.
One theme that is present throughout the whole novel is that trust should be demonstrated, not assumed. All of the unwinds, in some way or another, are betrayed by their parents. For example, in the book, it says that Roland had beaten up his stepfather for beating his mom. The mother took her husband's side, and the stepfather got off with a warning. Roland, on the other hand, was sent to be unwound. Another example that trust should be demonstrated and not assumed is when Lev is trying to sell the diamond necklace from Sapphire to the pawnbroker, and the pawnbroker leads Lev into the back room, assuming that he can just unlock the vault and give him his money, but Lev ends up knocking the pawnbroker out and taking $1,500 instead of $500. Risa and Connor also try to trust Lev after Connor rescued him from the juvie cops. They tried to get Lev to see how messed up and horrible unwinding was, but in the end they couldn't win his trust, and he ended up betraying them by ratting them out to the cops.
I think that's a great theme. I think it further shows, Roland definitely shows this theme as he ends up having as he has problems with it throughout the story later on.
Loneliness is a motif demonstrated a lot throughout the story. There are many examples of this, such as at the beginning of the story when Connor fears running away without his friend Ariana because he doesn't want to be alone. Another example is when Risa feels lonely when her teacher, a father figure to her, won't even look at her when she is taken away. The last example is when Lev feels like the odd man out when he is kidnapped, and he is further confused when Pastor Dan tells him to run. Overall, all three of the unwinds experience loneliness, and the only way to defeat it is to stick together.
I agree that loneliness is a really important motif in Unwind because Lev, Risa, and Connor all have to experience it throughout the book.
Wholeness is another motif in the book. Although one is being unwound, it is to make someone whole who is missing something. But evidenced by Connor, Risa, and Lev's journey, wholeness to unwinds means being whole in their current form. What wholeness means to unwinds is being alive, staying themselves, and having the right to exist. And here's Ben to talk about the character analysis.
Throughout the story in Unwind, certain characters change as their settings and environments change. Some of these characters happen to be Connor, and Connor, throughout the story, he is reckless and wild and has no thoughts about his actions. And in the text, he is described as being in and out of disciplinary school. And as the story moves on, Connor finds himself as a leader figure due to his thinking and actions, thanks to Risa. And then a quote from a character in the story that talks about Connor is, "He's a loose cannon, but more often than not, he is aimed in the right direction, and from each fight you have engaged in, it has resolved one issue or another."
Wow, that was a really cool analysis of Connor's character development.
Risa's character doesn't change throughout the story. She basically stays as a static character, but still is a role model to everybody, as a teacher to Connor to show him how to control his temper, and helps Lev and tries to point him in the right direction. Throughout Unwind, Lev seems to change the most, as Lev goes from an innocent child ready to be unwinded to a child who has realized his worth and has a deep-seated anger for adults. Lev originally was a child that Connor and Risa were trying to help and lead him to the ways that would be better than getting unwinded, and that and show him that it's not as good as it seems. And Lev originally discounts that idea and disapproves of their ideas and then betrays them, but later on in the story, Lev ends up rescuing both of them from getting unwinded.
I agree with Ben on what he said about Lev. He analyzed his character development very well.
One of the symbols throughout Unwind is abortion, and the idea of it pops up quite frequently throughout the novel since the Second Civil War was fought over it. They have outlawed abortion, and instead you can choose to unwind your child from his or her age of 13 to 18, or you can stroke the child shortly after it's born. I don't think this is an adequate solution to the abortion issue, and the people who proposed the idea of unwinding even thought of it as a joke. For example, on page 224, it said, "Then we proposed the idea of unwinding, which would terminate unwanteds without actually ending their lives. We thought it would shock both sides into seeing reason, that they would stare at each other across the table and someone would blink, but nobody blinked. The choice to terminate without ending life, it satisfies the needs of both sides." Another symbol in Unwind was the story of Humphrey Dumphy, which symbolizes the trauma that the kids in some families go through after unwinding their own children. In Humphrey's story, his parents signed the papers for him to get unwound, but when he gets sent away, they regret their decision. Unfortunately, it's too late and they cannot save him, so the parents have to live with the regret of unwinding Humphrey.
I liked your analysis of the symbolism behind Humphrey, and I also thought that it was interesting that in the book, the admiral and his wife tried to piece back together all of Humphrey's unwinded parts.
Ben had some incredible points on the development of the three main characters. Bella's analysis of the theme was exquisite. Kitty had a fabulous analysis of some symbolism in Unwind, and I talked about some super awesome thoughts on motifs. Thank you for listening. Peace out.